Welcome back to The Historian. Tonight we look at Aetherium alchemy, the rise and fall of the metallurgists who shaped empires. It all began thousands of years ago, beneath the rolling hills and vast skies, as curious human hands reached for the earth, uncovering the shimmering wonder of metal. Long before the gleaming cities we know today, early humans discovered metals like gold, copper, and silver. Found in their native state or as colorful ores, these metals stirred the imagination of those who first glimpsed their potential. Imagine the scene. A small group gathered around a fire. One curious individual drops a bright green rock into the flames. Hours later, as the fire dimmed, what remains is a small, pliable piece of copper, ready to be shaped. Here, the rudimentary process of metallurgy was born, unlocking the secrets of the Earth's crust. The origins of metallurgy trace back to around 6000 BCE in regions that are today part of the Middle East. In areas like the Iranian Plateau and Anatolia, early metalworkers learned that applying heat to certain rocks released metals. These pioneers chanced upon copper's versatility, discovering that it could be hammered into flat sheets and molded into tools and ornaments. Copper was followed by gold. This precious metal was not only stunning to behold but also resistant to corrosion. Ancient peoples found it in riverbeds, effortlessly extracted in its pure form. Its beauty and rarity made it a symbol of wealth and power, a precursor to the economic systems we see in place centuries later. The next monumental step occurred around 3500 BCE, when ancient metallurgists made a breakthrough that would reshape societies: the discovery of bronze. By mixing copper with tin, they created a new, stronger metal. This advancement marked the dawn of the Bronze Age. Weapons, tools, and art of this new alloy began to transform daily life and warfare, providing tangible advantages to civilizations that mastered its production. As we delve deeper into these ancient lands, picture the bustling village workshops, where artisans learned to control fire, manipulating temperatures to refine their craft. Kilns roared to life, temperatures reaching intense levels, revealing the inner potential of base metals. Knowledge, at first guarded by few, began to spread, and with it, the societies that held this knowledge also grew. Beyond the technical aspects, metallurgy shaped cultures and economies. The power to craft durable tools and weapons meant control over agriculture and military conquest. This control fostered commerce, as commodities and tools were traded across vast distances, linking disconnected cultures in new ways. In Egypt, elaborate jewelry and artifacts became symbols of the divine and the eternal. Techniques of metallurgy were closely guarded by priests, believed to be a magical art. Farther east, in the Indus Valley, metalworkers utilized sophisticated methods to create intricate seals and beads, underscoring the role of metals in trade and identity. Meanwhile, in Europe, copper mines surfaced, heralding the spread of metallurgical knowledge across the continent. Each civilization added its unique twist, molding and adapting techniques passed down through generations. By 2000 BCE, European metallurgists refined alloy making, lending even greater fuel to the fire of progress. These early advances in metallurgy weren't just technical feats, they wove together the destinies of entire peoples. As these forces converged, they set the stage for transformations that would ripple across continents, from the mighty Egyptian pharaohs to the storied Minoan and Mycenaean traders of the Mediterranean. At this fascinating juncture, metallurgy was still in its infancy, with rich veins of potential yet to be tapped, as ancient hands continued their quest to shape the world. And so, as twilight drapes the ancient lands, we leave this chapter of curiosity and discovery, knowing that these first forges of history would set in motion chapters filled with innovation, power, and the ceaseless human drive to transform the mundane into the magnificent. The air is still, and the sun casts long shadows through the ancient groves as we continue our journey into the lives of the early craftspeople. From the remnants of the past, we see traces of their artistry and toil, breathing life into the cold, stubborn ores they unearthed. These skilled artisans, emerging around 4500 BCE, paved the way for the transformative period when raw materials were fashioned into tools of utility and beauty. Imagine a scene in a bustling early settlement, nestled near a river. Mud brick homes rise from the earth, and among them, a modest workshop buzzes with activity. Here, you find a community of craftspeople, their hands stained by the soil and soot of their labor. They were the ones who unlocked the practical potential of copper and later bronze, turning these metals into tools that reshaped their world. These early metallurgists were not following a whimsical pursuit. Their work was a remedy to the demands of survival and progress. At first, metal tools were rudimentary, simple in form yet revolutionary in function. An axe, crafted by heating copper and striking it into shape, gave its user unprecedented control over the land. With wooden halves attached securely to metal heads, trees were felled and fields cleared. Human capability expanded as never before. A few steps away, another craftsman might be forging a simple but effective copper dagger. Previously, weapons of wood or stone had clear limitations. These new metal edges increased efficiency in hunting and offered greater protection from rival groups. Over generations, shapes and designs evolved, guided by the necessities of warfare and hunting. In the midday sun, metalworkers gathered at primitive smelting sites. These places were alive with the crackling of fire and the chorus of rhythmic pounding. They learned to blend metals, mixing copper with small amounts of tin or arsenic. This evolution did not happen overnight. It was a slow, insightful process of experimentation and adaptation. Each successful blend, each stronger alloy, heralded another leap forward. Around the regions of the Fertile Crescent, the mastery of toolmaking defined the rise of cities and civilizations. From the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates in Mesopotamia to the Nile Delta of Egypt, the demand for sharper, more resilient tools and weapons led to increased trade. Tin was rare, found primarily in Europe and parts of Asia, fostering long-distance trade networks and enriching cultures. Further east in the Indus Valley, in settlements like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, artisans showed remarkable innovation. They cast metal into molds to produce consistent, standardized tools and ornaments, efficient and visually remarkable. This progress broadened the scope of what could be achieved, from extravagant decorative items to the most precise instrumentation used in their bustling markets. These communities shared a quiet but powerful drive to refine their creations, driven by the interaction of humans and harbored earth. It was this mixture of curiosity and necessity that led them to develop furnaces capable of higher temperatures, enabling them to work with tin for bronze. These technological shifts laid down an infrastructural spine for what would become some of the first organized and formidable states. The atmosphere of constant trial and error, synchronized with the rhythm of daily life, made metalwork not just a craft, but a societal backbone. Knowledge was passed from master to apprentice, parent to child. Techniques, both secretive and shared, spread along the trade routes, whispering promises of power and prosperity to all who harnessed them. As twilight descends over these landscapes, reflections of the craftsmen's flames dance in the twilight. These early founders of tools didn't just mold metal, they laid the foundational groundwork from which societies could build and thrive. The tools they shaped and the innovations they pioneered echoed in the corridors of rising cities, birthing an epoch that stretched well beyond their own lifetimes. And so, the chapter closes on these stewards of transformation, leaving us poised on the threshold of new discoveries, where the tools of the age would give way to technologies that altered the very fabric of human endeavor and leadership. Across the world, ancient metallurgists wielded their hammers, a universal tool that shaped human destiny. Each culture developed its own methods of manipulating metal, reflecting diverse environments and needs. In a landscape dotted with rugged hills or along winding rivers, these artisans transformed earth into workable metal, breathing life into their creations, and by consequence, their societies. Let's journey to ancient China, around 1600 BCE, where early metallurgists practiced the art of bronze casting. The Shang dynasty, known for its sophisticated bronze artifacts, thrived with craftsmen who excelled in creating tools, weapons, and ceremonial vessels. They utilized piece mold techniques, fashioning complex designs unattainable by hammering alone. This intricate process began with a clay mold, inside which molten bronze was poured. Once cooled, the mold would be broken away, revealing a product that mirrored the ambition of its makers. These artifacts fused utility with elegance, featuring motifs of animals and mystic symbols. Similarly, the Hittites of Anatolia, whose presence was felt around 1600 BCE, were among the first to process iron. While bronze still dominated, the rarity and strength of iron made it a prized possession among the elite. The Hittites mastered the complicated techniques needed to smelt this difficult metal long before neighboring cultures understood its potential. This mastery gave them a strategic advantage in warfare, with soldiers wielding iron weapons in battles that would expand their empire. If you are finding peace in these archives, remember to subscribe to join us on the next journey. Beyond the technical mastery, every strike of the hammer, every shimmer of the cooled metal, bore cultural significance. Consider the early Celts of Europe, adept in ironworking by 800 BCE, who developed their styles independently yet brilliantly. Their craftsmanship is most famously exhibited in ornate swords and jewelry. Unlike their predecessors, the Celts embraced forgery, showcasing a balance between practicality and expression. In the plains of India, by 1200 BCE, the metalwork accomplished in the Gangetic Valley echoed the precision of its creators. Mastery over local ores did not just advance their tools, it also evolved their spiritual and cultural practices. Combining traditional motifs with new methods, Indian metal artisans cast bronze deities with techniques that allowed intricate detailing. Even then, skills were passed on through generations, preserving these pillars of artistic and practical achievement. Venture south to Africa, where the Nok culture of what is now Nigeria flourished between 1500 BCE and 500 CE. They were pioneers of iron smelting, transforming the landscape of metallurgy. The Nok countered the challenges of high-temperature firing with innovation, becoming one of the earliest sub-Saharan cultures adept at producing iron. The tools they made were unique and diverse, supporting not just hunting but also agricultural endeavors. In the Americas, focusing on the Andes of South America, cultures like the Nazca and Moche demonstrated an aptitude for metalworking around 100 BC. Without extensive resources of copper or tin, they focused on gold and electrum, a naturally occurring alloy. The artistry seen in their metal works echoes centuries later, with spirited designs that emphasized how deeply metals were woven into their cultural practices and religious beliefs. Each of these cultures contributed to the vast quilt of metallurgical techniques that would, in turn, inspire countless others. In these early advances, we see an interwoven journey, a journey that not only shaped tools and weapons but reflected the values and aspirations of generations. As we close this chapter, ponder the invisible bonds forged by these early methods, linking ancient craftsmen not only with their surroundings but with us, their descendants, custodians of a timeless heritage. In the heart of Sumer, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the very essence of innovation took form in the soft smudged light of dawn. Here, amidst the hum of daily life, the smelters of Sumer were at the forefront of a burgeoning technological revolution. Around 3500 BCE, these expert artisans embarked on a path that would redefine the cradle of civilization and influence the course of history itself. Visualize a dense collection of small settlements sprouting from the fertile floodplains, where the earth is rich and welcoming. Mudbrick homes and workshops line the meandering paths, resonating with the steady beat of human activity. In these lively settings, Smelters worked tirelessly, their skills shaping not only metal but the potential of entire cultures. The heart of Sumerian metallurgy lay in its mastery over copper, which had already shown its usefulness across many lands. Yet in Sumer, this knowledge reached new heights. The Sumerians refined smelting techniques, understanding that controlling the fire's temperature and duration could enhance the metal's malleability and strength. Crucibles were crafted to withstand incredible heat, as artisans discovered the value in adding tin to copper, producing the more durable bronze. Picture the orange glow flickering through the shadows of a twilight workshop. Within these hearth halls, craftspersons navigated the technical challenges of creating bronze, an alloy that would push society forward into new realms of possibility. Their task was not only to smelt and form, but to sustain this newfound expertise across generations. Draw upon the scene, furnaces blazing, hammers striking rhythmically, every sound echoing the profound stirrings of advancement. This mastery carved a path to technological and societal changes. The strong, reliant bronze tools and ornaments thus crafted became status symbols, essential instruments for agriculture, warfare, and daily life. Complex irrigation systems, crucial for farming in the arid landscape, owed much to bronze tools, which allowed for precise construction and maintenance. Sumerian smelters fine-tuned not just materials but methodologies. Mold making, a process where molten bronze would be poured into carefully crafted clay molds, allowed for standardization and sophistication in production. Such techniques spread beyond practical tools to create detailed artifacts, religious iconography, and statuary that adorned temples and homes alike, enriching both spiritual and everyday lives. As the sun set on the daily labors, consider the networks and infrastructure these metals empowered. Sumer stood as a crossroads of trade, connected through rivers, deserts, and mountains. The surge of metallurgy here forged not only metal, but also relationships that carried culture, technology, and resources across regions. The bronze crafted by these smelters tailored the face of their society, turning Sumer into a potent trading hub within Mesopotamia. Tin, essential yet scarce, was imported from afar, fostering vast trade networks that linked regions through supply and demand. These linkages facilitated cultural exchanges, allowing ideas and traditions to mingle and spread. Reflect on this moment, the smelters of Sumer, diligent and purposeful, standing at the precipice of history armed with nothing more than their skill and determination. Through their hands, the cold aloofness of raw metal transformed into endless possibility, reaching far beyond the confines of their land. Each piece of shaped metal functioned as a testament to human curiosity and collaboration. These artisans were the keepers of a silent power that threaded through their civilization, an invisible infrastructure that bolstered not just Sumer, but civilizations around them. As the night embraces the weary craftsmen, our journey with them concludes, but their legacy persists, echoing through the corridors of time. Their advancements, both bold and subtle, helped lay the firm foundation upon which the empires of the future would rise and ultimately fall, remembered always in the afterglow of their fiery forges. The ebb and flow of ancient civilizations can often be traced through the forging fires of metallurgists, whose skills reached a pinnacle during the apex of Aetherium alchemy. As societies matured, the power of metalwork became an indispensable cornerstone upon which empires were built, held together by the unyielding strength of bronze, and eventually, the more formidable iron. In the height of the Bronze Age, empires flourished, drawn by the allure and necessity of metal. From the bustling docks of Mycenae to the fortified walls of Babylon, bronze was a vital link that connected distant lands through trade and conquest. These civilizations recognized bronze as more than a material. It was a transformative force, a silent partner in the rise of mighty cities. The Phoenicians, known for their prowess at sea, played a crucial role in spreading bronzework techniques across the Mediterranean. These maritime traders navigated treacherous waters, their ships heavy with metal ingots and crafted goods. Bronzesmiths aboard ensured that seafaring voyages had the tools needed not just for survival, but for the construction of budding towns wherever their ships made landfall. Likewise, the Sumerians and Babylonians continued their metallurgical innovations. In Babylon, around 1800 BCE, metallurgists made strides in crafting weapons and tools that would assure the city's dominance over the Mesopotamian plain. The array of bronze tools, from sickles to plows, revolutionized agriculture, increasing yield and supporting larger populations. Further east, the rise of the Hittite Empire around 1600 BCE marked the transition from bronze to iron. The Hittites mastered the smelting of iron, a process shrouded in mystery to neighboring lands. This technological leap endowed them with robust weaponry and industrious implements, setting them apart as a formidable power in the ancient world. During this epoch, the art of metal casting reached impressive heights. Respected across cultures, the responsibilities of a metallurgist were immense. Treasured techniques were safeguarded, passed from master to apprentice, each cadre striving to outdo their predecessors. In the workshops and forges, fire roared and molten metal poured into molds, solidifying into creations that were as much about practicality as they were about prestige. As twilight painted the sky above Egyptian lands, artisans honed the intricacies of their craft. Bronze-cast figures of deities, intricately detailed, adorned the temples, underscoring both earthly and divine power. The sophistication of Egyptian metallurgy heralded an artisanal spirit that impressed upon successive generations the need for artfulness in every aspect of craft. In parallel, the Shang dynasty of China, beginning around 1600 BCE, displayed an unparalleled mastery in bronze casting, particularly with their renowned ritual vessels. These pieces bore witness to the metallurgists' skill, their surfaces elaborately decorated with geometric patterns and spiritual symbols that demonstrated deep cultural significance. Metalworkers from the Celts to the Phoenicians helped craft a world built on innovation and trade, leveraging the properties of metals to forge empires that would endure until their eventual decline. As civilization advanced, the pursuit of these metals remained relentless, their extraction and transformation fundamental to the humans they enriched. Through these clamorous epics of metallic alchemy, cultures were shaped, borders etched, and alliances forged in the fires of creation. In the swirling mist of history, metallurgists held their esteemed place as artisans not just of metal, but of progress itself. As the world moved inexorably forward, the lessons of ancient metallurgy became blueprints for the future. The glow of ancient forges still flickers in the collective memory of humanity, serving as a beacon guiding future generations through their own alloyed paths of discovery and invention. Each strike on metal was a note in the expansive symphony of human innovation, bridging ancient time and the ceaseless quest to shape the untamed elements of the earth. Molten gold, one of the Earth's treasures, played a key role in shaping the economies and trade systems of ancient civilizations. As we delve into this gleaming world, imagine the awe of early metallurgists who first discovered the softness, malleability, and undeniable beauty of gold. Not only was it an object of desire, but gold also became a cornerstone currency that fueled trade and linked disparate cultures across vast distances. Gold, found easily in its pure form in riverbeds, required little in the way of processing compared to other metals, making it highly desirable. Its natural luster and resistance to tarnish elevated it above most metals, turning it into the gleaming symbol of wealth and power. In Egypt, gold was considered the skin of the gods, making it an integral part of religious and royal iconography. It adorned the tombs of pharaohs, intended to honor their divine passage and ensure immortality. Moving along the ancient trade routes, gold was a key commodity exchanged for textiles, spices, and other goods. Around 1200 BCE, the Kingdom of Lydia, located in what is now Turkey, is credited with minting the first known gold coins. These coins standardized trade and facilitated economic expansion, fostering a burgeoning marketplace where goods and ideas could rapidly circulate. In India, Gold jewelry dating back to around 2000 BCE was used not only for decoration, but also as a form of currency, bridging the gap between personal adornment and a medium of trade. The Indus Valley civilization, with its sophisticated urban centers, used gold to craft seals and personal ornaments, indicative of its prominence in both local and international trade. Charting our course across the world, the Minoans on the island of Crete, around 2000 BCE, utilized gold extensively for both ornamental and practical purposes. Minoan artisans crafted intricate jewelry and ceremonial artifacts that were traded across the Mediterranean, influencing subsequent cultures in Greece and beyond. Gold's allure transcended the practicalities of trade, however. It shaped ideologies and emphasized status within societies. In religious rituals and royal ceremonies, gold marked significant events. Consider the dazzling funerary mask of Tutankhamun in ancient Egypt, a symbol of opulence and a testament to the pharaoh's divine role. On the African continent, the Kingdom of Ghana, flourishing between the 7th and 13th centuries, was known as the Land of Gold. It controlled the trans-Saharan trade routes, which were essential for the exchange of gold with salt and other commodities. The vast wealth generated by this trade supported a thriving empire, whose influence spread far beyond its borders. As we move through history, the cultural and economic significance of gold remained steadfast. It not only identified wealth, but it also connected regions, dialoguing with diverse cultures through its trading value. Although gold itself is functionally inert, its impact was, and continues to be, anything but passive. Thus, the golden threads of trade were woven through the economic fabric of past societies, drawing distant lands together in pursuit of prosperity and progress. In each glittering piece of gold lay a silent promise of untold tales and hidden wealth, a commodity that eternally bridged gaps between people and places. As we look back upon these grand epics driven by a quest for metal, the molten glow of gold casts a reflective light on our continuous human story, rich with legacies forged in the fires of ancient enterprise. With the age-old allure of gold illuminating its path, the trade fostered by metallurgists left an enduring mark on the economies that shaped our shared history. And so, the curtain falls on another chapter, where the tenacious bonding of civilization relied firmly upon both the rarest and the most radiant of metals. Let us pause here, savoring the glittering epoch, anticipating the new challenges and discoveries that await in the next phase of our historical journey. In the vibrant heart of ancient cities, artisan guilds flourished, becoming the lifeblood of metal craftsmanship. These guilds, rooted in tradition and innovation, were the bedrock upon which the artistry of metallurgy thrived. Established around 1500 BCE, these organizations connected skilled artisans, fostering an environment of learning, sharing, and advancement. Picture a typical day, where the sun rises over terracotta rooftops, casting a warm glow over the bustling streets lined with workshops. Here, the echoes of hammers, the hiss of molten metal, and the determined chatter of craftsmen fill the air. A guild was much more than a mere workplace. It was a close-knit community adhering to shared codes and practices. Within these walls, master craftsmen taught apprentices, imparting knowledge honed over centuries. These pupils, often young, began their day sweeping the workshop floors and assisting in menial tasks, learning the value of patience and precision. Gradually, they graduated to more skilled jobs, closely observing masters at work. This learning by doing model ensured the continuity and evolution of metalworking techniques. Imagine being in a guild nestled in the bustling city of Athens around 500 BCE, where a craftsman's guild enjoyed high status. Metals like bronze and iron were integral to the city-state's prosperity. A typical morning would start with assessing raw material stocks, copper, tin, or iron, scattered across workbenches in orderly chaos. Each piece told of potential, yet only through fire and skill could its true form be revealed. Craftsmen divided tasks based on expertise. The brazier dealt with the initial melting and mixing, while the polisher brought out the hidden sheen in each completed item. Despite the specialization, every guild member understood the process from start to finish. They worked in tandem, each honing a piece of metal into an exquisite weapon, tool, or artifact that would meet the demands of patrons ranging from merchants to military commanders. Guilds also played a pivotal role in safeguarding trade secrets. Techniques perfected over generations, such as the precise alloy compositions and mold-making refinements, were guarded jealously. Such knowledge ensured a competitive edge, pivotal in a time when craftsmanship defined a city's status and military might. In addition to technical mastery, guildwork fostered camaraderie and holistic societal growth. Festivals and religious ceremonies were intertwined with their existence, where they paraded their finest works, boosting morale and reinforcing collective identity. The guild's success had wider implications. It supported not just craftsmen but also suppliers, merchants, and transporters, forming a thriving ecosystem focused on prosperity and communal benefit. Let us travel briefly to medieval Europe, where guilds evolved further, gaining substantial economic and political clout. By the 12th century, they were crucial in structuring economic life. In cities like Ghent and Florence, guilds regulated quality, standardized pricing, and even wielded political power. They negotiated with government authorities, ensuring favorable market conditions and protections for their members. In these instances, guilds resembled both business enterprises and civic institutions. They organized apprenticeship systems, sustained moral codes, and settled disputes, reflecting a balance between individual skill and collective ethos. Their workshops, brimming with creativity and innovation, cultivated an environment where new tools and artistic expressions emerged. Thus, artisan guilds were engines of both economic progress and social change. They served as nuclei of industry and bastions of tradition, threading through the fabric of civilizations from Athens to Aachen. With every chisel strike and hammer blow, guild artisans laid down not just wares but cultural heritage. Each creation told stories of dedication, skill, and an unyielding quest for excellence, weaving a continuous narrative through time. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows over cobbled streets, these guilds stand firm in history, a testament to human ingenuity and communal perseverance. Their legacy of craftsmanship lives in the artifacts they left behind, whispering stories across the ages. Such are the enduring bonds of guilds, securing their place in the annals of metallurgical mastery and social evolution. In a world transformed by the rush of river waters and the labor of countless hands, the metallurgists of antiquity left traces in the masterpieces of metal-crafted architecture. Imagine a realm where the seemingly mundane act of metalworking achieved the power to shape not merely tools, but the monumental structures that define past civilizations. The use of metal as a fundamental component of architecture dates back to the Bronze Age. Shepherded by the demand for durability and grandeur, metal began its unlikely partnership with stone and clay, in turn giving rise to buildings that defied time and nature. The application of metals like bronze and later iron in architectural endeavors offered civilizations unprecedented opportunities to expand their design horizons. Picture the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, those soaring temple towers that sought to touch the heavens, erected around 2000 BCE. These grand structures, while primarily earthen, gained prominence through the use of bronze in their embellishments and fixtures. Bronze served not just as an aesthetic enhancement, but as a stabilizing element in the construction of these spiritual hubs. Traveling further east, to the heart of the Aegean world, we discover the labyrinthine palace of Knossos on Crete, dating back to 1900 BCE. While primarily constructed from stone, the palace's longevity owes a debt to the clever use of metal reinforcements. Bronze pins and clamps provided tensile strength to heavy stones, preserving the architectural marvels from the ravages of time and tectonics alike. In ancient Egypt, the very stone blocks of the pyramids themselves found companion in metal. Copper and later bronze tools were instrumental in carving the immense limestone slabs. As construction evolved, the incorporation of metal alloys in structural elements became more pronounced, exemplified in the temples dedicated to gods and pharaohs, where metal lintels and brackets played a pivotal role in maintaining structural integrity. In the forging heat of iron, architectural potential soared even higher by the advent of the Iron Age around 1200 BCE. With the newfound strength of iron, architects could envision and execute more complex and daring designs. Iron was particularly instrumental in the fortresses and city walls of emerging Middle Eastern and Mediterranean empires. Roman ingenuity took this integration to new heights, with iron playing a crucial role in their aqueducts and iconic stone and metal bridges that spanned expansive terrains. The Gothic cathedrals of the High Middle Ages presented yet another leap. Iron, with its unmatched versatility, became the quiet skeletal framework supporting the soaring arches and stained glass of structures like Notre Dame de Paris. Here, metallurgy transcended support, as the beauty of wrought iron gates and fixtures created dramatic focal points that captured spiritual and artistic expression. Across oceans in the ancient civilizations of the Americas, such as the Inca, mastery over copper and its alloys also led to architectural marvels. Metal tools were pivotal in shaping building blocks and constructing resilient ceremonial terraces seen in Machu Picchu. Here, metal reinforced the integration of nature and design. Wasn't it fascinating how each culture, with its unique environmental challenges and resources, innovated within the constraints of their time? Metal was not merely a resource but an enabler, letting realms stretch beyond ordinary limits to create places of worship, defense, and royal abode. As twilight fades on this splendid arc of history, gazing upon these ancient grand stages allows us to appreciate what human tenacity and ingenuity can forge out of the most elemental resources of the earth. The relationship between metalwork and architecture not only fortified structures, but also fortified societies, bridging the gap from simple temporary shelters to monuments of eternal aspiration. And as we transition to future explorations, let us consider how these ancient innovations resonate in the architectural marvels of the present day. As dawn broke over the eastern horizon, the determined figures of explorers, scholars, and artisans gathered with purpose. They were embarking on the great expedition, a quest as ambitious as any before it. In the heart of this venture lay a single desire: to uncover the long-forgotten secrets of the ancient metallurgists who had shaped their world in silent but enduring ways. Picture a caravan stretching across rolling plains, through whispering forests, and into the shadowy folds of rugged mountains. Each step forward was a step back in time, retracing the paths tread millennia earlier by forgotten hands. Leading this charge was an assembly of eager minds, aspiring scholars armed with scrolls, weathered maps, and the curiosity of a new era. The promise of unlocking ancient knowledge kept their spirits lively amidst the untamed landscape. Bounded by collective ambition, the expedition sought regions where metallurgy was rumored to have originally blossomed and thrived. Their journey first took them deep into the Fertile Crescent, where rivers once cradled nascent cities and cultures. Here, in what is now modern-day Iraq and Iran, they hoped to find traces of the Sumerians' metallurgical brilliance, which had laid the cornerstones of civilization itself. Days turned into weeks as their path wound through once great cities now cloaked in silence and sand. And then, just as it seemed that the earth itself had closed its teeth around history, they found evidence beneath the shifting sands. Skeletal remains of ancient forges and scattering shards of copper and bronze whispered of human hands that shaped the trivial toils of daily life into monumental leaps of progress. Artifacts of the past, dormant for centuries, now told stories of ingenuity and resilience. Each piece they uncovered was a puzzle piece, slowly filling in gaps in human history. From the valley of Mesopotamia, Their quest carried them across treacherous terrains to Anatolia, the land of the Hittites. During the height of their power, around 1600 BCE, the Hittites had mastered the complex art of iron smelting, a secret craft that held power like a scepter and shielded their empire in elusive strength. These secrets were hidden from neighbors, treasuring an advantage that, in their time, could tip the scales of power entirely. Here, the expedition encountered the remnants of bloomeries and casting workshops, where, centuries ago, the arduous process of extracting iron from the earth ended with robust armaments and tools that left their mark on every field, from agriculture to warfare. The explorers found fragments of iron interspersed with rock and earth, heavily rusted but preserving the memory of a civilization's technical triumphs. In China, on another leg of their journey, they ventured into a land where the Shang dynasty had once set its mark on the world with stunning bronze artifacts. Over 3,000 years old, these were not mere tools but symbols of power, meticulously cast and elaborately decorated with motifs that spoke of the heavens and the divine. The expedition's final path led them to the Andes, where the ancient Sumerians' metal undertakings were mirrored by the skilled workers of the Moche and Nazca civilizations. Here, they explored the highlands, guided by stories of awe-inspiring metallurgy, without the need for the Eastern world's abundant copper and tin. Gold artifacts shone anew beneath the dust, suggesting a time when art and utility wove together, profoundly influencing the cultural landscape. As dusk settled upon the expedition's lengthy endeavor, the explorers connected the visible dots of history, beseeching these silent witnesses to narrate untold tales of human survival and brilliance. Each rusted relic and engraved figurine was more than an object. It was history breathing anew, interacting with the present, shaping consciousness in unseen ways. In closing their chronicles, they knew the echoes of these discoveries would ripple through time, informing future inquiries and unraveling the enigmas of past empires. As shadows stretched across the vanished landscapes, the explorers rested, knowing this great expedition had uncovered secrets that would continue to illuminate humanity's shared journey, a journey bridged by time and tenacity. Imagine a world where metals shaped not only artifacts of beauty and tools of daily life, but also instruments of warfare, radically transforming battlefields and empires. As civilizations grasped the potential of metallurgy, it became clear that the strength of an army was increasingly tied to the metal it could wield. Let's journey back to an era where the innovation of weapons significantly altered the terrain of conflict and conquest. In the Bronze Age, around 3000 BCE, combatants in the Near East and beyond began to replace stone and wood implements with bronze weapons, granting them a significant edge. Bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, was not only more durable but also allowed for more varied and sophisticated designs. Spears, axes, and the first rudimentary swords entered the arsenal of many armies, marking a pivotal shift in warfare. Consider the chariots of ancient Egypt, pulled by horses and manned by warriors brandishing bronze-tipped arrows and daggers. Around 1500 BCE, during the period known as the New Kingdom, these chariots were crucial in expanding Egyptian influence and dominating the battlefield. The speed and maneuverability provided by chariots, combined with the lethality of bronze weaponry, made them a formidable force against enemies still relying on older technologies. In the Aegean world, the Mycenaeans, around the same period, wielded bronze swords and armor that glinted under the Mediterranean sun. This not only provided them with superior protection, but also allowed their soldiers greater offensive capabilities. Their ability to equip even the lower classes with weapons helped unify society under a banner of military efficiency and power. However, the Age of Bronze was destined to evolve. By 1200 BCE, whispers of a new metal began to spread. This metal was iron, more abundant and eventually more potent than bronze. The Hittites, who thrived in Anatolia, were among the earliest to harness this new material, refining the techniques to smelt iron and transforming it into cutting and piercing implements of war. Their iron weapons were lighter and harder, marking the dawn of a new era in armaments. As these techniques spread, iron was increasingly adopted throughout the ancient world. By 700 BCE, many Mediterranean civilizations, including the Greeks and Romans, boasted iron weaponry. This shift was not just about the technology itself, but how it changed the social fabric. Iron was not as restricted by geography as tin. This allowed for more widespread armament and contributed to the rise of powerful city-states and eventually empires. The ramifications of these advancements were profound. The Greek citizens, or hoplites, equipped with iron helmets, breastplates, and the distinctive long spears, were able to form phalanx formations that dominated battlefields. These formations exemplified discipline and strategic use of arms, underpinning Greek military might. Iron's influence continued well into the Roman era. One cannot speak of Roman conquests without mentioning the gladius, a short sword adopted by Roman soldiers. Crafted with precision and suited for thrusting in tight formations, it was a key component of Rome's military success. The Roman legions, with their iron weaponry and rigorous training, carved out one of the largest empires known to history. As twilight closes upon these ancient battlefields, consider how metallurgy's role in creating weapons reshaped history itself. The journey from bronze blades to iron-sheathed legions did more than decide wars. It altered economies, fueled new political structures, and influenced the very survival of civilizations. In closing this chapter, we reflect on the legacy of these ancient metallurgists, whose innovations continue to echo in the halls of history. These weapons were more than instruments of destruction. They were symbols of human ingenuity and adaptability. As this era fades into twilight, it lights the way for the next phase of technological and societal evolution, showing us that the metal of choice could mold not only the swords and shields of an army, but also the destiny of the world itself. A gentle river winds its way across the landscapes, mirroring the trajectory of metal trading throughout ancient worlds. These rivers of metal were not composed of water, but of gleaming bronze, iron, and gold, facilitating the flow of ideas, goods, and cultural exchanges. Imagine a scene where merchants from distant lands converged in bustling marketplaces, their paths crossing due to the shared language of metallurgy. In the heart of the ancient Near East, trade routes blossomed as early as 3000 BCE, connecting regions from the Indus Valley to the shores of the Mediterranean. Along these routes, metal was as valuable as the finest spices or silks. Ports of call like Byblos and Ugarit became vital hubs where Phoenician traders, known for their seafaring prowess, exchanged not just goods, but also technology, skills, and stories. By 1200 BCE, the trade networks had fully integrated metal into their very fabric. It was during this period that tin, essential for making bronze, was sourced from as far as the mines of Cornwall, England, and traded through the continent to meet the demands of bronze-producing civilizations like the Mycenaeans and the Egyptians. These trade veins expanded across Europe, Asia, and North Africa, encouraging the exchange of not only materials but also knowledge and practices. Among these routes, the Silk Roads stand out. While famously known for textiles, they also shepherded metal goods and metallurgists' expertise across Eurasia. Travelers journeyed alongside caravans, their horses laden with iron and bronze, passing through powerful kingdoms and empires like the Kushan Empire, which played an active role in facilitating trade between the East and West. In return, these goods sparked revolutions in technology and military power as far as Rome and the Han Dynasty in China. Shifting our focus to the African continent, we find the trans-Saharan trade routes, which started around 800 CE. These routes connected the riches of West Africa with the trade networks in North Africa and the Mediterranean. Of particular note was gold, which traveled northward across the Sahara, significantly enriching the cities of the Ghana and Mali empires. The famous city of Timbuktu became a vital link in this trade chain, thriving on the exchange of gold, salt, and precious metals. Through these arteries flowed not just metals, but also cultural and technological exchanges. Craft techniques, art styles, and even spiritual beliefs were exchanged along with raw materials. In some instances, metallurgy itself became a shared knowledge base, creating communal advancements such as the transmission of iron-making techniques from the Middle East to Europe and Africa. Communities that specialized in unique aspects of metalworking thrived, fortified by both trade and their ability to innovate with and adapt to the techniques and styles of others. In the Americas, metals like gold and silver traveled along trade routes established by the Aztec and Inca civilizations. These routes facilitated regional networks of exchange across vast geographies. Precious metals were especially revered not only for their economic value, but also for their spiritual significance, an aspect that shaped both indigenous art and ritual. Each trade route served as more than a trajectory for physical goods. They were conduits for connecting people and inspiring generation after generation to reach beyond their immediate surroundings. Through metal, the universal language of ancient trade, civilizations found common threads that allowed them to flourish creatively and economically. As these stories of trade and exchange unfold, we appreciate how the world was knit together through these rivers of metal, flowing silently beneath history and nurturing the intricate tapestries of human endeavor. As our narrative shifts forward once more, we prepare to explore how the epics of exchange broadened horizons and altered destinies, echoing through time and shaping the foundations of our global society. As the world of ancient metallurgy matured, the heavy cost of progress began to manifest not just in gold coins or iron swords, but in the environments and societies that bore these ambitious transformations. The story of metallurgy, once marked by innovation and economic boom, now held within its folds the seeds of consequence, stretching life's balance to its tipping point. Imagine a serene valley nestled at the edge of a once lush forest. Over centuries, this forest had been a pivotal resource, its trees feeding the constant fires of metallurgical kilns and forges. Slowly, the landscape began to shift. Ecosystems that had thrived under dappled canopies gave way to barren grounds, as demanding smelting processes consumed timber at an alarming rate. This deforestation, driven by the ravenous appetite for wood to fuel metallurgical ventures, triggered erosion and diminished soil fertility, threatening the sustainability of agriculture and community life. As settlements expanded into mining centers, the environmental strain intensified. Studies of ancient mines in regions like the Mediterranean indicate that extensive mining operations left significant scars on the landscape. These operations, essential for the extraction of copper, tin, and later iron, fundamentally altered their surroundings. Water sources, once clear and vital, became tainted with metal runoff, impacting both local vegetation and wildlife. Communities reliant on these watercourses found their way of life increasingly fraught with challenges. The societal ramifications accompanied these ecological shifts. As some regions prospered by exploiting their metallurgical expertise, others faced growing inequalities. For example, tin, a critical component for creating bronze, was geographically limited, available in significant quantities only in select regions. This disparity led to intensified trade and wealth for some, while fostering dependency and economic imbalance for others. The societal structures themselves felt the strain. Class divisions became pronounced, as those who controlled metallurgical production secured economic advantage, often transforming into powerful elite groups. They reaped the rewards of trade while wielding their alloyed weapons and tools to expand influence or suppress competing tribes. The environmental burden fed social discord, as local communities wrestled with the repercussions of contamination and resource depletion. Furthermore, as metallurgy produced more efficient weaponry, warfare became more widespread and devastating. Armies equipped with bronze or iron gained strategic superiority. People from villages and towns suffered the burdens of military expansion. Populations could be displaced, and resources diverted to support these thriving military industries, dynamically shifting the socio-political landscapes of the ancient world. Meanwhile, the labors within the brimming forges and foundries wrought physical demands on the craftsmen themselves. The blacksmiths and metallurgists, once celebrated for their creations, lived and worked in harsh environments. Prolonged exposure to smelting fumes and metal dust cast long shadows on their health, leaving lasting impacts on those who powered the metamorphic fires of progress. Despite their prowess, these artisans sometimes became mere cogs in the great machinery of state and commerce, their expertise exploited for its utility to those in power. Many forged the very chains of their own servitude, creating tools and weapons that cemented the authority of ruling classes and expanded empires. Thus, the harmonious balance that early metallurgy had once symbolized slowly eroded. From the smoldering ruins of deforestation to the tremors of social upheaval, the environmental and societal strains of this ancient alchemy unfurled like a complex weave, challenging the foundational structures of life and governance. As the glow of twilight gives way to a contemplative dusk, reflect on these intertwined legacies of metallurgy. They remind us of the delicate balance between human advance and the sanctity of our surroundings. With each pivot and evolution of knowledge, it is not just progress that we inherit, but also its echoing costs, lessons timeless and transformative, carrying forward to the next phase of our shared story, urging thoughtful stewardship in every ember burned. In the quiet aftermath of great civilizations, a once vibrant era of metallurgical mastery began to dim. Over the centuries, empires that were built on the back of metal innovations faced their twilight days. Rise inevitably led to decline, as the forces that fueled their ascendance waned. As we focus on the decline of these powerful societies, imagine vast expanses once dominated by the clang of metalwork, now echoing with silence. The bustling workshops, which were the heart of innovation and industry, now stood as relics, testimonies to a time when bronze and iron ruled supreme. The collapse of these empires was often complex and multifaceted. Economies which heavily invested in the production and trade of metals began to suffer when faced with scarcity of resources. Particularly as metal deposits were exhausted and forests were depleted for smelting fuel, the symbiotic relationship between the natural resources and metallurgical industry began to fracture. Consider the Mycenaean civilization, thriving between 1600 and 1100 BCE, which exemplified the precipitous decline when resources dwindled. Their society, once bolstered by the strategic use of bronze, crumbled amid resource shortages and societal upheaval, exacerbated by external pressures from neighboring regions also vying for control of limited metal supplies. Similarly, the mighty Hittite Empire, which once leveraged its knowledge of iron smelting to dominate Anatolia, faced its demise around 1180 BCE. Internal strife, coupled with the loss of control over key iron-producing regions, led to fragmentation and the eventual fall of their once mighty kingdom. As empires faced these challenges, the very networks and trade routes that had facilitated their rise now strained under the weight of overuse and neglect. The Silk Roads, once arteries of trade and innovation, experienced disruptions from both natural and man-made events. These interruptions hindered the flow of essential metals, causing further economic distress. Metallurgy was not only a tool for empire building, but also a reflection of societal contributions. The decline of these metallurgical empires mirrored shifting dynamics where localized economies struggled to sustain the previously widespread demand for metals. As reliance on trade for resources grew untenable, societies turned inward, focusing on sustenance and survival rather than expansion and innovation. In addition, the burdensome demands of metallurgy on both environments and societies began to show more starkly. The depleted landscapes and social disparities widowed the economies that had once thrived on metal trade. The very metal workers, central to past prosperity, faced diminishing roles as reduced demand met changing societal structures. Amid these transformative ages, new challenges loomed in the form of emerging threats. Invaders capable of sieging cities with their own advances in metallurgy compounded the problems of these declining empires, often dealing the final blow to their stability. As twilight fades on the age of metallic dominance, the lessons of these lost empires whisper to us. They serve not only as reminders of innovation and progress, but also as warnings of the risks inherent when the balance between human ambition and environmental stewardship is lost. Such is the legacy of the metallurgical empires, symbols of human achievement and cautionary tales of decline. As these remnants become shadows, they bridge time, shaping the interplay of resource, economy, and the fragility of civilization, leading us gently towards future awakenings. As the grand arc of metallurgical history curves towards its conclusion, we arrive at a poignant moment of reflection on the final sparks of innovation from those who wielded the transformative power of metal. During the tail end of powerful empires, the advances made by metallurgists walked a path both illuminated and shadowed by time. The last chapters of metallurgy's ancient saga were marked by significant innovations that refused to burn out even as the grand empires began their slow decline. Around 900 CE, as the echoes of past empires reverberated through time, metallurgists across diverse cultures focused on perfecting the crafts that earlier times had birthed. The Arab world, at the crossroads of Europe, Africa, and Asia, became a fulcrum of this enduring artistic and technical development, especially in weaponry and craftsmanship. Remarkably, in Damascus, a technique was perfected that would resonate through the ages, the creation of Damascus steel. Renowned for its strength and distinctive wavy surface, these blades became legendary. Craftsmen in the Middle Eastern region understood and mastered the complexities involving the blend of steel and carbon, leading to swords that were not only durable but also flexible, ideal for both warfare and prestige. Parallel to this, in China, innovations in metal crafting maintained their influence. The Song dynasty, spanning the 10th to 13th centuries, heralded new inventions such as the movable type printing press, utilizing metal-based components. The growth of metallurgical techniques contributed significantly to advancements in print communication, an achievement that accelerated cultural and educational dissemination throughout the region. In Japan, renowned for its smithing ethos, the development of the katana became a hallmark of the era. Approximately in the 13th century, Japanese swordsmiths developed intricate forging and folding techniques. They combined different steel grades to produce swords that offered sharpness along the edge with resilient, flexible cores, balancing beauty and effectiveness. Europe, during the same period, saw metalwork flourish amid Gothic architecture. This architectural movement, characterized by ornate style and verticality, found great use of metals in structural and decorative elements. Iron reinforcements became essential in constructing soaring cathedrals, emblematic of the medieval spirit and technological prowess. These innovations, resistant to the eventual decay that touched the empires, left a rich legacy that extended well beyond their initial creation. Despite environmental and economic adversity, artists and artisans continued to refine metallurgy, imbuing our shared history with both tangible gifts and inspiration. The legacy of these last great sparks endures as a testament to resilience and innovation. Each cultural and technical leap forwarded by these craftspeople remains etched into the tools, weapons, and symbols of their times, influencing structural and artistic methodologies for generations to come. While empires fell, cultures persisted, carrying with them the flames of knowledge needed to kindle future progress. From Damascus blades to Gothic cathedrals, these metallurgical achievements highlight the human capacity to adapt and innovate even in the face of decline. As we wind down from our journey through the ancient landscape of metalworking, reflect on these chapters of persistent innovation. They lie where progress meets decline, reminding us that every ending holds within it the seeds of the next beginning. The echoes of ancient anvils resound, urging us to remember and learn from the legacies they left behind. As dusk settles in the modern era, a strange quiet has fallen over ancient anvils and forges. These places, once alive with the clamor of creation, are now hushed ruins scattered across the landscapes where empires once thrived. Yet within this silence lies a tale of rediscovery, as modern historians and archaeologists peel back the layers of time to better understand the metallurgist's art and its impact on our world. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a renewed interest in ancient metallurgy began to spark in the academic and scientific communities. Great strides in archaeology revealed the remnants of once busy metalworking sites. Imagine the quiet thrill as researchers uncovered the rusted remains of forges, forgotten molds, and sunken crucibles, all of which spoke in whispers of a world long past but never quite forgotten. Scattered across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, these relics offered clues to ancient methods, allowing metallurgists of the modern era to trace the evolution of metal technology. From the primitive smelting pits in Anatolia to the sophisticated casting setups in China, each find was a piece of the puzzle, slowly constructed from years of patient excavation. Among the most compelling discoveries is that of ancient slag heaps, the byproducts of metal extraction and processing. These unsightly piles are rich with evidence, containing vital information about the types and quantities of metalwork conducted at these sites. Through careful analysis, scientists could reconstruct not only the processes, but also the enormous scale of ancient operations. In particular, the ruins of ancient Sumerian foundries outline the technical knowledge our ancestors wielded. Here, modern researchers discovered that the structure and design of furnaces had evolved to maximize heat efficiency and metal yield, an impressive feat for early metallurgists given the rudimentary tools at their disposal. Another hallmark is the discovery of molds used by ancient artisans. Found primarily in regions such as the Indus Valley and ancient Egypt, these artifacts highlight the precision with which these early metalworkers cast their creations. Detailed engravings on these molds reveal an artistry that intertwines functionality with aesthetic appeal. In some cases, modern metallurgists experimented by recreating these ancient methods, trying to blend copper and tin to make bronze with tools their forebears might have used. This practical exploration provided deeper insights into the skill and ingenuity of those long-past artisans, highlighting challenges faced and overcome with techniques that are still studied today. Meanwhile, the ancient ruins inspired a new generation of craftsmen and women who adopted both ancient practices and reverence for metallurgy in contemporary fabrication and design. Museums and educational institutions around the globe began to exhibit ancient metalwork more prominently, showcasing these once buried treasures to educate and inspire the public. As the silent anvils rest under the stars, they remind us not just of the past, but of the continuous human desire to mold and create. From these quiet ruins, the legacy of the metallurgists lives on in modern architecture, art, and technology, each with a backbone rooted in ancient innovation. Perhaps it's fitting to conclude that these old forges, though quiet, have never truly ceased their work. They continue to fire imaginations, nurture human curiosity, and sow the seeds for future trails of discovery. In the whispers of history, as the powerful fires of metallurgy began to cool, a captivating silence enveloped the once vibrant world of Aetherium alchemy. The craftspeople and metalworkers who had driven civilizations forward now found their art resting, not through lack of skill or innovation, but because the world shifted its gaze toward new frontiers. As we explore this slumber of alchemical artistry, we reflect on the lives and legacies shaped by the dance of elements. The metallurgists who shaped empires with copper, bronze, iron, and gold moved into quieter roles. Their vast contributions continued to resonate through the echoes of time, setting the stage for a period of reflection and adaptation. As we step into this muted chapter, the stories of these craftsmen lie in the residue of forgotten forges and resting tools, each one a testament to the human spirit's enduring quest for mastery over the natural world. With advancements reaching their zenith, the focus on metals as the cornerstone of progress began to evolve. The collapse of empires, shifts in trade routes, and environmental strains led to a period where progress slowed, and artisans took stock of their craft. The metallurgists of yore, though no longer at the forefront, inspired generations as keeper of knowledge, with ancient techniques morphing quietly within new paradigms. Across the ages, there lay a vast and mysterious interlude where lost knowledge found continuity, conserved in the archives of guilds, texts, and storytelling. It was an era characterized by the shifting priorities of societies where metals once stratified wealth and power structures. With diminishing resources, the dreams of infinite expansion waned, leading to introspection and preservation. Within this sleep of Aetherium alchemy, civilizations adapted rather than grew. The absence of abundant metals forced societies to optimize, recycle, and conserve resources, an environmental consciousness born out of necessity. This resource mindfulness engendered sustainable practices that continue to influence contemporary thought. The quiet exchanges along Silk Roads and sprawling networks maintained this continuity of learning. In libraries, scholars compiled texts on metallurgy, representing mankind's ceaseless effort to capture the essence of the alchemical secrets that once shaped destinies. In this era, metals transitioned in role, from the grandiosity of empire building to the subtler support role, providing structural and functional integrity to burgeoning settlements and cultures. Meanwhile, the spiritual and artistic emphases on metal lay dormant, but ready to flourish anew when conditions permitted. As night fell upon these timeless traditions, the artisans etched their lore into the artifacts they left behind. They became the seeds of revival for future endeavors, ensuring that somewhere in the recesses of time, the heart of Aetherium alchemy lulled but never fully stilled. In every metallic whisper speaks the story of endurance, ingenuity, and rebirth, a slumbering legacy poised to awaken with renewed purpose. This serene interlude of history reflects on the enduring relationship between humans and the elements, reminding us that true alchemical mastery lies not just in forging the earth's gifts, but in understanding how they bind human stories in an eternal continuum.